Tina here, and this is going to be a flip through of my completed journal here. It's a chipboard journal, so it has not too many but very sturdy pages. It also has 2 spines, which makes it a little bit unique. Now, of course, there are already videos available right here on my channel where you can first of all see what this looked like before I got my hands on it. Also how I decorated the cover of this and many of the pages inside. Now, not all the pages were covered in videos, and maybe that's a good thing, especially for the ones of you who watch my videos regularly. You've got lots of new things to look at. Now, while I was working in this journal, I was definitely reminded of why I usually like to work loose leaf, because some pages gave me some trouble and it took an extra effort to complete them to my satisfaction. When you work loose leaf and you make a mistake, you can always start over. But in a bound journal, it's a little different. Now, most art journals, you can just play in, you can practice in, and not every page has to be completed. But because of the nature of this little journal, I felt it was more a keepsake project, and so I wanted to have every page come out well and completed. I get more into that as I show you what I've done. So here's the cover. I used the doily, craft paper, alpha stickers. The doily goes across to the inside cover, and this was my first page. And this journal came with 2 split pages. One, of course, for the cover, and then a second one. I could never quite figure out why, but either way, I covered the holes this one had as well, and I added lots of colorful elements. This was drop paper from a pour. This is just a magazine image. It says color changes everything. Now, on each of these pages, I've always done outlining and detailing. You know me, I like to get into those special little extras, but I won't get into all those details as I show you these pages. Otherwise, it'll take way too long. So these pages were covered in the video. This one has nice texture because of the metal elements, the gears, and the little hour hand. On this side, I added this little mason jar. It's a really nice sticker. It looks nearly real, and I think it was a nice addition to this page. On this page, I used my primary element pigment colors. They are a new addition to my art room, and I've used them several times in here. As they're so bright, the colors are so brilliant, I really like them. This was done very simply, some stenciling. These are cut from another craft paper and colored with the same medium. And the next 2 pages were also covered in videos. This one is very simply done with lots of colors in the background with my ink pads, a laser cut, die cut, a little die cut bird. On this side, I created the frame on a separate piece of paper with acrylic paint, some stenciling, and a vintage photo. And then after I had actually posted these pages, I put the addition of this extra frame on here because I felt it needed just a little bit more. So this is a little cardboard frame. I cut a little slot so the quote would fit, and I changed that as well, and now it says, "Trust your crazy ideas." I also colored it using my crackle medium and 2 different shades of acrylic paints. And then these pages were also covered in videos. Here I used mostly fabric and lace on a gold background. I used this pretty image, and this word splendid. I love that word, and I think it fits so nice with the time period where this lady lived. There are also some metal embellishments here. And this one was done using acrylic skins. Now here I worked on a black gesso background. Most of the other pages I worked with white gesso. Here I started by doing all the doodling, then added the skins, and I sealed them all in with mud medium and a little glitter because I didn't want these to go anywhere. And it also has a couple of half pearls here. And then I get to the first 2 pages, which I did not record. And there are different reasons for it. Here, I had the footage completed, only to find that some of the segments were corrupted and I could not use it. And that happens sometimes to us video creators. It's a little frustrating, as I really like this page. I had a lot of fun putting it together, but oh well. This was created by using bits and pieces of stamped images from tissue paper. So I used all the separate segments of pipe to create this pipe system. I also added the watch and of course the image of this gentleman. And I did a lot of shading, outlining, highlighting, some stamping and some stenciling in the background. Then I added some glossy accent to the watch and also some old watch pieces and the quote which says, "All destinations are unknown until we dare to take the first step." So this was a really fun page to put together. I loved working with these tissue prints. And that brings me to the second page. Now here I used my pigment powders again. I created the sunset, a pretty sky, and then I had the idea of drawing a bat. But somehow the dimensions and the shape just didn't come out right. And while I was fixing it, it got so big that it overpowered the page and I really didn't like it. So I set it aside, which is always the best thing to do when things don't quite work out. And then later on, I came back to complete it. The problem is that often when I get back to my pages to fix it, it happens when I get a sudden idea, usually between chores or late in the evening, and I just don't record it or I forget to turn on the camera. So the repair I had not recorded, so this didn't make it either on a video. But what I did, I covered the terrible bat with some gesso, recreated the sky, then I added these wings which came from some craft paper, including these little triangles which were left over from the same paper. And the wings got some detailing with marker and some glitter paint, some little stenciling of silver bubbles right in the middle, and the tiny word love right here. And now I really like the page. I think it has a very peaceful feeling to it. And that brings me to another page. This one was covered in the video. Here I just colored a magazine image again using my pigment powders. And they came out so nice and bright, especially on the leaves. It has the word imagine right there. And later on, after I had posted this already, I added this sequin border here, as I felt the page needed a little 3D effect. And this is also a page which is not covered in one of my videos for different reasons. Here I had technical problems. Here I had problems with myself. I had all the footage, but it was very, very long because I changed my mind many times when I was creating this page. And even at the end, I wasn't so happy with it. It is just not my favorite. So I lacked the inspiration to do all the editing work and just chucked the footage, but kept the page because I think in between all the other pages, it does okay. So anyway, I started by painting the silhouette. Then I added a frame, which was a leftover piece from another project, some texture paste on the frame and on the background. The background was started with a piece of craft paper, which looked like weathered wood. Then I added the tag and the words, "Imagine what is possible." This was taken from a magazine as well. And then 2 butterflies. The top one here very much matched the color. The bottom one I added a little alcohol ink to. And then I used a 3D marker pen to do the border. A similar pen was used on this page as well. So there is that one. Then this steampunk page was covered in a video. Here I used alcohol inks, which are so bright and shiny, and they are done on an embossed piece of photo paper. And of course some ephemera, some paper gears, and a fun quote. It says, of course, steampunk, and then underneath, from a future when we didn't know that this stuff was impossible. So it is one of those quotes which really challenges your brain cells. But I liked it. And then I came to this page, and again, I had some trouble of a different nature. I had these really pretty leaves. I think you call them skeleton leaves, where you only see the little veins. And I had the idea of creating a nice, bright, colorful background and then adding these. But when I added these using mud medium as a glue, the dye which had been on these leaves completely muddied the background and made a real mess. So again, I set it aside and then decided to cover the whole thing, including the leaves, with black gesso. And after that was all dry, I took a dry brush to bring back out the texture of these leaves, and that worked really well. As you can see, all these little veins again. And I've used the dry brush technique quite often, especially when I do my assemblage work. Then I added these little flowers and I dyed them in the same color as I did the corners. It was my ink pads, and the corners were made with crackle paste, and you can see how nicely they're crackled. I also used a little spray to give just a little color to the leaves, a little gold and pink. And then I used just a little instrument to make dots in a circle and on the edges, just using acrylic paint in teal. And now I really like the page. I think it's a very pretty page, and I wished I would have known then what I know now, because it would have made a really nice video. Oh well. And that already brings me to the last 2 pages, as this journal does not have a whole lot of pages, but because of them being made out of chipboard, it really gives you the possibility of adding more heavier elements, and I really like this. I definitely want to get myself another chipboard journal. So on this side, I used playing cards, I used a photo of a candle, and this page was posted very recently, and already then I explained, even here I made a little mistake, because the candle should of course face this way and the spine should have been on the left side. But I got turned around a little bit, but it's okay. I can live with that mistake. And here it says fire. And that brings me to my last page, which I also posted just a few days ago. A pretty tree on a jelly print paper, and a little 3D leaf right up here. And it says, dream big, find your voice, and put it out there. I thought this was a nice statement page for the last page in this book. So here we are. These are all my pages, and I really had a lot of fun making these, even though this book took a little patience, I must say, especially the second half. In the beginning I did really well, and then I had a lot of difficulties, either because of my own doing or my camera, or something just went wrong. But I persevered and I finished it, and now I'm quite happy with it. I think it's a nice little keepsake. I hope you enjoyed this little flip through. I hope it gave you lots of ideas and inspiration of how you can decorate art journal pages. Thanks again for coming and watching my videos. See you really soon again. Bye.